Hey folks, this is Kalani. I want to talk to you about professions in Warlords of Draenor, specifically what professions are the best to take on your main character or the character you're going to be playing the most. So that's kind of what we're looking at, is time. Time is pretty key in what I'll be talking about. So I'm going to be taking two gathering professions. I'll be taking mining and herbalism. There's a few reasons for this. The first one is material acquisition. We need to get the materials to be able to do anything in a production profession. So we need herbs to do alchemy, we need ores to do blacksmithing, etc, etc. That's not changed throughout the life of World of Warcraft. But what is changing going into Warlords is that there's some slight crossover. So now you actually require herbs and ores for alchemy, you require cloth and herbs for tailoring, and it's a little annoying because obviously you can't have mining, herbalism and alchemy, so you're going to need to get those ores or herbs from somewhere else. As a quick side note, a lot of alchemy seems to use fishing as well. So that may be something to level up if you're looking at doing alchemy in Warlords of Draenor. So you can get the items that you need and can't gather from your garrison. So if you don't have skinning but need leather, you can make a barn, I believe, and get leather that way. Don't quote me on that, but mining and ores and herbalism and herbs is a lot easier because they're from your mine and herb garden. Everyone can gain access to these. It's not a plot, it's kind of a plot on its own. You just need to do a quest to unlock it, so it's not really taking up any space. And the mine, you can happily mine without the mining profession, and the herb garden, you can pick all your herbs without herbalism. And, you know, you can get those materials you need without having the gathering profession. Now, while you can do that, you get more materials if you actually have mining and go mining in your mine. So you maybe get 7 to 8 ores from mining something in your garrison mine. If you have mining and do the exact same thing, you can get 16 ores. So you get twice the materials, and the same works for the herb garden if you have herbalism. You just get more materials if you have that gathering profession. So your garrison gives you free materials, yes, but it gives you twice the free materials if you have that gathering profession. So not only are you going to be getting more materials from your garrison, you also have the choice to go out and farm them yourself, meaning either which way you look at it, you get far, far, far more materials if you have the gathering profession yourself. Add on top of that, you can create work orders at your herb garden and mine with Draenic stone and Draenic seeds, and basically what you do there is just create more materials. These drop from every node out in Draenor if you have the profession, and they can drop from your garrison mining and herb garden if you don't. But once again, you're going to get more of these materials if you have the gathering profession, meaning you're going to get more free materials from your garrison. Which is kind of crazy. At the end of the day, if you have mining and herbalism, you're going to be swimming in ores and herbs, meaning you can either sell them, which is going to be a very nice profit at the start of the expansion, or you can just fuel profession alts. You know, I have several crafting alts with Jewelcrafting, Enchanting, Tailoring, Leatherworking. I can happily just throw all the materials they need to those and happily spend more time on my main, farming, getting more materials, making more money, but still getting all the benefits of having the professions. Because I'm spending most of my time on a character which can gather. If I was spending most of my time on my main, which had 2 production professions and my alt was the gatherer, chances are I'd be gathering less. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it. Now the second thing is the production professions aren't exactly special. At your garrison buildings, you have access to all of the base recipes for those professions. The only things which you don't have access to are the top tier of things. To put this kind of in perspective, for Jewelcrafting, you can cut your own gems, but you can't cut the greater gems. So right now in Mr. Pandaria, that would be like being able to craft your own green gems without Jewelcrafting, but you can't craft the blue ones. But if they keep the perfect gem system going, you may be able to get something equivalent anyway. I haven't tested that out a great deal, so that's something to consider. The other thing is that the production professions actually have upgrade recipes, which seem really strange and seem to act like the current Valor upgrade, in that if you craft this item and use it on one of your tailoring armor pieces, so this is for tailoring and blacksmithing and leatherworking, but you can only use it on the items you've crafted from those professions, which makes it a little less powerful than the current Valor upgrade, but still the same kind of deal. You can upgrade their item level, and you can keep going like that. So you wouldn't have access to that, but you would have access to that on a crafting ult, and none of the gear is soulbound. So I really, really do not see any reason why you would take that kind of profession on your main. But moving away from that, enchanting you may be thinking about. Enchanting, surely enchanting is going to be worthwhile. I'd say potentially not, because you don't need to be an enchanter to disenchant items. If you have the enchanting building in your garrison, you also have access to something which disenchants for you, which is kind of crazy. I'm not entirely sure if disenchanting yourself gives you more materials, because enchanting doesn't really work on the beta right now, sadly. I'll try to test that as soon as possible. That would be something which made sense, especially if mining in your mine gives you more materials than if you don't have mining. Disenchanting their own stuff instead of using the building to disenchant makes sense to give you more materials, but at the end of the day you can still break them down, and you can still use the base level enchants yourself from that same enchanting building. So this kind of carries over into all of the profession buildings and essentially lets you have the professions as long as you build the building, to some extent anyway, which is interesting. It means there's only really a few recipes which you don't have access to if you don't have the production profession, and obviously it's the best ones, but you may not need them depending on what they add. Obviously going forward, if they add new things to the professions, you probably won't have access to those either. So as the expansion progresses, as more raid tiers, as more materials become available, as more recipes become available for the professions, it might be worth shifting over to crafting professions, but if they become available to alts anyway, it won't matter. Now, the third thing, and this is really the nail in the coffin, is that there's no Spirit of Harmony. There's nothing which is soulbound which drops from actively playing, which you need in any of your production professions. If you had an alt, which was your crafting alt in Mr. Pandaria, you would need to get Spirits of Harmony from somewhere. They were soulbound, which means you had to play that alt. That's not the case in Warlords. You don't have to play your crafting alts for anything besides crafting. If you get them to level 100, you gain access to the level 3 garrison, which means A, you get more materials from your mine and herb, and B, you gain access to all of your crafting recipes and all of your garrison, really. Everything at level 3 at level 100, that's the most you would ever have to play them. Ever. Outside of crafting. Because there's no Spirit of Harmony, which is, in my opinion, the biggest thing. I can happily take 2 gathering professions on my main, make a load of money, make several crafting alts, and be no worse off. No worse off at all. Obviously, this is still beta. This is just my speculation and my ideas, my thoughts, and how it is currently. All of this is still subject to change, and if they do, I'll probably be a little frustrated and make another video. But that's what I think. I'll be taking mining and herbalism. Thanks for watching, folks. Good luck and have fun, and as always, I will see you next time.